Picture an eagle soaring high above the earth, its keen eyes scanning the vast expanse below. It flies unrestrained, untouched by the pull of the ground or the bonds of the ordinary world. Even love, in its most persistent form, cannot reach it. The eagle moves with purpose, hunting only when the moment is right, guided by an instinctual wisdom that others might deem reckless or unwise. This is the omega, the master of striking when the iron is hot, unchained by conventional thinking and untouched by the expectations that tether others. Their flight is not about chasing after the usual trophies. It's about seeking what truly aligns with their essence. In these 5 signs, we'll explore the Omega's journey from their aloof resistance to external validation to their quiet mastery of their own destiny, flying above it all with a clarity that few can understand. We go positive to negative, surface level to deep. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Sign 1. You're allergic to hierarchy. Have you ever felt at odds with the world? Not because you couldn't fit in, but because you simply didn't want to. This quiet rebellion against societal norms is a defining trait of the Omega personality. While alpha males thrive on leadership and dominance, and sigma males value independence but maintain a strategic engagement with the social hierarchy, Omega personalities step entirely outside these frameworks. Their independence isn't loud or calculated, it's intrinsic. At its core, the Omega personality is marked by an unshakable self-sufficiency. These individuals aren't compelled by external validation or the pursuit of power. They may reject the traditional ladders of status and achievement because they find little meaning in climbing them. To the Omega, the world is not a competition. It's a canvas for self-expression, curiosity, and exploration. Psychologically, this trait can be linked to a high level of intrinsic motivation, a drive that stems from personal values and interests rather than rewards or recognition. While alphas might find satisfaction in commanding attention and sigmas in navigating systems cleverly, omegas seek fulfillment in their own pursuits, often preferring solitary paths. Their quiet strength lies in their ability to thrive without relying on the approval of others. However, this detachment can sometimes come across as eccentricity or even aloofness. It's not that the Omega lacks empathy or understanding. Rather, their focus lies elsewhere. They choose solitude, not as an escape, but as a sanctuary where they can engage in deep thought, creativity, or self-discovery. From a Stoic perspective, this disinterest in external validation aligns with the idea of focusing only on what is within one's control. Omegas embody the principle that true freedom comes not from dominating others, but from mastering oneself. By refusing to be tethered to societal expectations, they carve out a space of genuine autonomy, a rare and admirable strength in a world so often dictated by appearances. Sign 2. Passion over prestige. Have you ever wondered what life would look like if you followed your passions without regard for what others think? For the Omega personality, this isn't a hypothetical, it's a way of life. While others chase titles, recognition, or influence, Omegas find joy in pursuits that ignite their curiosity and creativity, even if they seem trivial to society at large. Unlike the Sigma, who may strategically align personal interests with opportunities for growth within existing structures, or the Zeta, who might use their pursuits to question or dismantle societal norms, the Omega follows a simpler, purer path. Their passions are not tools for rebellion or advancement. They are deeply personal, often pursued for the sheer joy or intellectual challenge they provide. This tendency aligns with the psychological concept of flow, a state in which a person becomes fully immersed in an activity, losing track of time and self-consciousness. Omegas are particularly adept at reaching this state because they place their focus entirely on what matters to them. rather than being distracted by external judgments. This can make them seem eccentric or even irresponsible to those who equate success with traditional metrics of achievement. However, this passion-driven life isn't without its challenges. Omegas can sometimes struggle with societal alienation, as their priorities often diverge sharply from the norm. But from a Stoic perspective, this is not a flaw. It's a form of liberation. As Marcus Aurelius suggested, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Omegas internalize this wisdom by finding fulfillment in their pursuits, untouched by the world's expectations. In a society obsessed with status, Omegas remind us of the beauty of intrinsic value, of doing something because it resonates with your soul, not because it impresses the world. It's a quiet rebellion, but one with profound personal meaning. Sign 3. You don't explain yourself. Have you ever felt misunderstood? Not because you failed to explain yourself, but because others simply couldn't see the world as you do. For the Omega personality, this sense of divergence is not a burden, but a badge of freedom. Eccentricity, being out of step with societal norms, is not just a trait. It's a way of living authentically. While Sigmas may carefully navigate their unconventionality to maintain independence without alienation, and Zetas openly reject and critique societal expectations, Omegas embrace their uniqueness with little regard for how it's perceived. Their eccentricity is not curated or performative. It's natural, arising from a deep alignment with their inner world rather than external pressures. Psychologically, this can be linked to high levels of openness to experience, a trait characterized by creativity, imagination, and a willingness to explore unconventional ideas. While such openness enriches their lives with novel thoughts and passions, it can also make them stand out in ways others may not fully understand. This divergence can trigger social bias or skepticism, as people often resist what they cannot categorize. But from a philosophical lens, particularly through the Stoic worldview, this outsider status can be seen as a strength. Stoicism teaches that freedom lies in living in accordance with nature, your own true nature. Omegas embody this principle by remaining steadfast in their authenticity, regardless of whether the world embraces or rejects it. Their eccentricity is not a weakness to be tamed, but a freedom to be celebrated. In a world that prizes conformity, the Omega's willingness to stand apart, unbothered and unapologetic, reveals a profound truth. True liberation comes not from fitting in, but from being at peace with standing out. Their path is not for everyone, but for those who dare to tread it, it offers an unparalleled sense of self-possession. Sign 4. You fail to feel deep love. It's not like a fail in traditional sense. Have you ever questioned whether love, as society defines it, is anything more than a clever manipulation? For the Omega personality, this question isn't born out of cynicism, but from a deep, almost instinctive skepticism. To an Omega, love often appears as a construct, a transaction cloaked in sentimentality, tethered to expectations and compromises that feel alien to their nature. Unlike the Sigma, who can form deep, loyal connections while preserving their independence, Alpha, and who of course command love and form connection with virtually anyone, the Omega remains wary of love's entanglements. It's not that they're incapable of affection or connection, it's that they perceive love as a potential tool of manipulation, a way for one person to exert influence over another under the guise of intimacy. This makes them resistant to the kind of emotional vulnerability that love often demands. Psychologically, this resistance may stem from a heightened sense of autonomy and self-reliance. Omegas prioritize their inner world, viewing external attachments as risks to their freedom. This aligns with the concept of psychological reactance, where individuals rebel against anything perceived as a threat to their autonomy. To an Omega, The expectations tied to love, compromise, sacrifice, dependency can feel like chains rather than bonds. From a Stoic perspective, this resistance has merit. Love, when rooted in neediness or control, can lead to suffering. The Stoics valued relationships built on mutual respect and shared values, rather than emotional excess or dependency. Omegas embody this principle, choosing solitude or superficial bonds over the perceived hollowness of societal notions of love. While some may see this as a failure to connect, the Omega sees it as clarity. They understand that love, as romanticized by the world, often demands a surrender of self. For an Omega, true strength lies in retaining their autonomy, even if it means walking alone. Sign 5. Your perspectives don't align. Have you ever found yourself thinking in ways that leave others puzzled, as if the very fabric of common sense doesn't apply to you? For the Omega personality, this isn't an anomaly, it's a strength. Their minds don't follow the usual pathways. Instead, they carve out new ones, guided by curiosity and a desire to explore ideas that others might dismiss as impractical or absurd. Unlike the Sigma, who strategically challenges norms to maintain autonomy, or the Zeta, who actively works to dismantle societal frameworks, the Omega's unconventional thinking emerges naturally. It's not a calculated move or a rebellion. It's simply the way their mind operates. They see connections where others see none. Question the unquestioned, and pursue knowledge or creativity for its own sake, not to gain approval or recognition. Psychologically, this can be attributed to high levels of openness to experience, a trait linked to creativity, intellectual curiosity, and a willingness to entertain ideas that fall outside traditional boundaries. Omegas are comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty, which allows them to entertain multiple perspectives and develop innovative ideas that don't always fit within the familiar boxes society has built. From a Stoic perspective, this power of unconventional thinking aligns with the idea of living according to nature, your own unique nature. The Omega embraces their natural inclination to think differently, unburdened by the need to conform. By trusting their own intellectual and creative processes, they find freedom in expressing their ideas without fear of judgment. In a world that often prizes conformity and linear thinking, Omegas demonstrate the profound value of embracing a mind unshackled by convention. Their unconventional thoughts aren't just random musings. They are a testament to the strength that comes from thinking freely, unafraid to follow a path others might deem illogical or unimportant. Through this, they unlock a quiet power, the power to see beyond the obvious, to challenge the status quo, and to bring new ideas into the world. You strike only when the iron is hot. Thanks for watching.